Buy a new car.
Linda stood quietly in the parking lot outside her office. She looked at her car one more time before getting inside. The afternoon sun reflected softly from the white paint, making the car shine, even though it was no longer new. Linda smiled. This car had been part of her life for many years. It had taken her to work, carried her on weekend trips, and never let her down when she needed it most. Time, however, had left its mark. A few small scratches covered the doors. The seats showed years of everyday use. The engine still worked well, but it was no longer as smooth and quiet as it once had been. Linda gently placed her hand on the steering wheel. For a moment, she simply sat there, thinking about the many memories she had shared with her old car.
As Linda sat behind the wheel, she thought about how much her life had changed. She had worked hard. She had built a successful career. She had achieved many personal goals. Now, another important decision was waiting for her. Linda wants to buy a new car. This wasn't a sudden idea. She had been thinking about it for several months. Whenever she saw a beautiful new car driving by, she imagined herself behind the wheel. She dreamed about driving something modern, comfortable, quiet, and reliable. One evening, while driving home from work, she smiled to herself. "I think it's finally time." That simple thought filled her with excitement.
She has an old car. Her current car had served her faithfully for many years. It was never perfect, but it had always been dependable. She still remembered the day she bought it. Back then, it had looked brand new. Driving it home had been one of the happiest days of her life. Over the years, the car became part of her daily routine. She knew every sound the engine made. She knew exactly how the steering wheel felt in her hands. One day, a coworker smiled and asked, "Are you ever going to replace your car?" Linda laughed softly. "Maybe soon," she replied. "It's getting old, but it's still doing its job."
The coworker smiled. "When you finally buy a new one, you'll really enjoy the upgrade." Linda nodded. She believed he was right. Her old car is a white Honda. The white Honda was easy to recognize, even in a crowded parking lot. Although the paint wasn't as bright as it used to be, it still looked clean and well cared for. Linda had chosen a Honda years ago because she believed Hondas were reliable. Her experience had only strengthened that belief. Regular maintenance, careful driving, and patience had helped the car last for many years. Whenever Linda talked with friends about cars, she often smiled and said, "My Honda has been very dependable." Most of her friends agreed. "Hondas usually last a long time," one friend said during lunch. "That's one reason I like them so much," Linda replied. She appreciated driving a car she could trust every single day because of that experience. She never seriously thought about buying another brand. Linda wants to buy a new Honda. In her heart, the decision already felt right. Now, she simply needed to find the perfect one. One Saturday morning, Linda opened her laptop and began searching for the newest Honda models. She visited several websites, carefully comparing one model with another. She studied the features. She read customer reviews. She looked closely at dozens of photographs. Every car looked impressive. "There are so many choices," she said softly. Even so,
One particular model quickly caught her attention. The more she looked at it, the more she liked it. She imagined herself driving it through the city, on bright sunny mornings and peaceful evenings. The dream was beginning to feel real. She wants to buy a new red Honda. The color mattered to Linda. For many years, she had driven a white car. Now, she wanted something different, something bright, something cheerful, something that stood out. Whenever she saw a shiny red Honda on the road, her eyes followed it. One afternoon, she stopped at a traffic light. Beside her, a beautiful red Honda waited quietly. The afternoon sunlight reflected from the bright red paint, making the car sparkle. Linda smiled. "That color is beautiful," she whispered. "I think that's exactly the color I want." From that moment, her decision became even stronger. The following weekend, she visited a Honda dealership. She wanted to see the cars with her own eyes. She walked slowly through the showroom. Bright lights reflected from every polished car. Everything looked clean, modern, and inviting. She carefully examined each model. Then, she suddenly stopped. Right in the center of the showroom stood a beautiful new red Honda. Linda couldn't help smiling. "It's even nicer than the pictures," she thought. She slowly walked toward it. Linda gently touched the door handle. She looked inside. The seats looked soft, clean, and comfortable. The dashboard was modern. Everything smelled fresh and new. Just then, a friendly salesperson walked over. "Good morning," he said with a smile. "Can I help you?" "Yes," Linda replied. "I'm interested in this red Honda." The salesperson smiled proudly. "It's one of our most popular models." Linda nodded. "I can understand why." She couldn't stop looking at the beautiful red car. She has saved $1,000. Linda believed that careful planning was important. She never rushed into expensive decisions. Instead, she spent many months saving money. Every payday, she put a little more into her savings account. Sometimes she cooked dinner at home instead of eating at restaurants. Sometimes she decided not to buy things she didn't truly need. Little by little, her savings grew. Finally, she reached her goal. She looked at her bank account and smiled proudly. "I did it." Every dollar represented patience, discipline, and months of careful planning. She will use $1,000 to help buy the new car. Linda knew that a new car would cost much more than her savings alone. But she also knew that every dollar she had saved would make a difference. Her down payment would reduce the amount she needed to finance. Before visiting the dealership, she had carefully planned her budget. She wanted to make a smart financial decision. The salesperson explained several payment plans. Linda listened carefully. She asked thoughtful questions. "I want to understand every option," she said politely. The salesperson smiled. "That's always the best way to buy a car." Linda appreciated his honesty. She wanted to feel completely confident before making such an important decision. She will give $1,000 to the Honda dealer. After thinking carefully, Linda finally made her decision. She reached into her bag and took out the money she had prepared. "This is my down payment," she said with a smile. The Honda dealer thanked her warmly. "Thank you," he replied. "This amount will go directly toward the purchase of your new car." Linda felt a wave of excitement. She had spent months planning this moment. Now, it was finally happening. Her dream was becoming real. The Honda dealer will give her a contract to sign. The dealer placed several documents neatly on the desk. "This contract explains everything," he said politely. Linda didn't rush. She carefully read each page, every sentence, every number, every detail. Whenever she had a question, she asked it. The dealer answered patiently. "Take your time," he said. "We want you to feel completely comfortable with your decision." Linda appreciated his professionalism. When she finished reading, she smiled. Everything looks clear.
The contract will require her to pay $400 each month for 7 years. Linda looked at the payment schedule one more time. $400 each month for 7 years, she quietly repeated. She had already planned her monthly budget. She knew she could comfortably afford the payments. Because she had prepared in advance, she felt calm. The dealer smiled. Many customers plan their budgets before buying a car. Linda nodded. "I do the same," she replied. "Planning ahead gives me confidence." She picked up the pen, took one final look at the agreement, and signed her name. The purchase was complete. The dealer warmly shook her hand. "Congratulations on your new Honda." Linda smiled brightly. "Thank you." Then the dealer handed her the keys. Linda walked outside and saw her beautiful new red Honda waiting for her. The bright sunlight reflected from the shiny red paint. She smiled from ear to ear. She opened the driver's door, sat comfortably behind the wheel, and took a slow, deep breath. Everything felt brand new. The seats were soft. The dashboard looked modern. The fresh new car smell filled the air. She gently pressed the start button. The engine came to life, so quietly that she smiled once again. "This feels wonderful," she whispered. She slowly drove away from the dealership. Every moment of her first drive felt special. She knew this car would cost a lot of money. There would be monthly payments, insurance, fuel, and regular maintenance. But she believed it was worth every dollar. A dependable car would help her travel safely, go to work every day, and enjoy many wonderful trips in the years ahead. Linda had worked hard to build a successful career. She had earned the opportunity to buy the car she truly wanted. As she stopped at a traffic light, the sunlight danced across the beautiful red paint. She looked at her reflection in the rearview mirror and smiled. "I'm glad I worked hard and planned ahead." The light turned green. Linda gently pressed the accelerator and continued driving toward her future, a future filled with new adventures, new memories, and many happy miles in her beautiful new red Honda.